My name is Marco Hanna from PhoneDog.com, and this is the Weekly Bone. We start this week off with some dogfight goodness. The Apple iPhone 5 against the mighty brand new Samsung Galaxy S4. Both these devices are their flagship devices from each company, and now all of them are available on all four major carriers in the US. The iPhone 5 has a 4-inch display with a resolution of 1136 by 640. It has a 1 GHz processor, it's about 1.05, dual-core A5 chip, 1 GB of RAM, and iOS 6 for now. The Samsung Galaxy S4 has a 5-inch display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. That means 1080p on a 5-inch display. It has a 1.9 GHz quad-core processor, 2 GB of RAM, and it has the latest version of TouchWiz and Android 4.2.2. Both these devices are seriously quick, but the upper hand goes to the Samsung Galaxy S4. It has more features, it has a bigger screen, and more processing power for the buck. But the iPhone 5 does have build quality on top of the Galaxy S4. While the iPhone 5 is made out of beautiful aluminum and glass, the Samsung Galaxy S4 is made out of glass and a lot of plastic on the back and on the sides. So the build quality will go to the iPhone 5. The Worldwide Developers Conference was just last week, and we did see the much anticipated iOS 7 from Johnny Ive and all of the designers and developers at Apple. Basically, iOS 7 is exactly what we thought we would see. A more flat design iOS. iOS 7 brings new features like multitasking and control center. Now, multitasking is actually a full-on multitasker. All applications are able to do that. It actually displays it in a cards view, sort of like old WebOS, where the applications will display in a card view. You can flick them away when you close them. You can switch through applications. And also, with the new control center, you can slide out from the bottom, and it shows you things like brightness, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, flashlight, clock, calculator, quick access to all your applications and accessories and general settings that you have without opening up the general settings. Lastly, iOS 7 adds a layering system that actually no operating system else has. iOS 7 is more of a layered system. Everything sort of has a transparent, you can see through things. So say if you have your notification center, you can still see the applications, you can still see the background, but it's more of in a blur than anything, but you can still see it. It gives you a sort of a picture of context. It gives you a grasp on what your content is when you're messages, when you're doing email, anything you're doing inside the iOS 7, either emailing, messaging, going through your applications, you get a sense of context. And actually, iOS 7 sits on this parallax where all the applications and background actually move and pivot. So it sort of looks like a 3D feature, but it actually isn't. It's just moving and tilting the display. iOS 7 is expected to launch this fall along with a brand new iPhone, so we will report back to you when we find out some more details about when iOS 7 will launch. As we said in last week's Weekly Bone, Apple's iRadio service is now fully unveiled. It's called iTunes Radio. It's exactly like Pandora and Slacker, but this is Apple's own take of doing radio. It's actually built in directly to your music application on your iPhone, so basically you can access all the iTunes radio networks. You can have like pops, hits, you can make your own stations, you can basically do whatever you want. It's actually a free service, but if you are an iTunes Match subscriber, which I think is like $22 a year or $25 a year, it gives you full-on ad-free streaming music service. If you're not an iTunes Match subscriber, it is ad-supported, but currently there are no ads. And again, this new iTunes Radio will launch with iOS 7 later this year. It will first start launching in the US, and then it will spread to different countries worldwide. Well, that's all the time I have for this week's episode of The Weekly Bone. My name is Marco Hanna. You can follow me on Twitter at @GEMarcoHanna, and also make sure to follow all the great things from PhoneDog at PhoneDog.com and our YouTube channel here, YouTube.com/PhoneDog. Again, my name is Marco Hanna, and I will see you guys in the next video.